Peace be unto you. Another question that came by, it said, Muslims, can they live in Western societies with their culture? Now you have to understand one thing, that there are the normative teachings of Islam, and one is culture, right? One is culture and one is the normative teachings of Islam. So you cannot say Muslim culture is Muslim religion maybe, but not Muslim culture. So the culture actually is infused or is intertwined with where people live. For example, when Christianity went to Africa, although it was brutal in many of the aspects, but even if it went through peacefully, it would take some part of European culture and would give to the Africans, and Africans will also give some part of their culture, be it that how much the people resented taking it, but yet they would still take it, and the type of food that they eat. So culture is actually different from the normative teachings of Islam. And of course, culture is part and parcel. I mean, obviously, say for example, somebody who's bringing their cultural stuff, for example, a kind of dress. So if they're used to and accustomed for last 50 years that they're accustomed to a kind of dress, don't expect them to come here and start wearing a t-shirt and jeans and so on and so forth so you can be pleased. I mean, the best thing is to see a different kind of face. For example, the Buddhist monks, they wear this long gown, and it's nice to actually, it's a pleasant view to see that somebody totally dressed differently. So if you were all looking the same, where would the pleasure be in looking all the same? So definitely, and eating all the same. That's why, you know, the number one dish in England is curry, and the Britishers who are, you know, indigenous to that spot, you know, white, blue-eyed, blonde hair, they're eating curry, and this is their number one dish in Britain, because the Pakistanis that came over, the Indians that came over, the Bangladeshis that came over, they introduced curry, and it mixed in with that. So you don't say, can British culture be, can it survive the onslaught of the curry? We don't say that. So definitely, as I'm explaining to you here, is that if Islam actually is there as a religion, the cultural practices of people, you know, Islam says that it goes along with the cultural practices that are acceptable, not something that is abhorrent or against something, morality and different things like that. But at the same time, culture is indicative of where the person is coming out of, and it actually puts different kind of spice into your food so that you may enjoy a different flavor. So I think putting things into perspective, yes, everyone can integrate, but you don't want people to assimilate. That's why I think that's the crux of the matter. Integration is a good thing, but assimilation is something that is abhorrent, because you want to assimilate, meaning to say you lose your total identity, and then if the rapper comes to say something or the hard rock guy comes to say something, is, you know, you have to follow along because you're assimilating. You have no identity of yourself. But integration, working, cooperating, doing all of those other things, that's wonderful. But assimilation, so I think that's where the question lies. Can it, you know, can it live with Western culture? Yes, of course it can live with it, with many cultures, because the Indonesian Muslims have different cultural practices than the Pakistani Muslims, than the Chinese Muslims. So totally different practices. But yes, we live together, and even when we meet together, it's a different cultural thing. Then we say, oh, you guys do that? Oh, you eat with coconut milk? Oh, you do that? So there's so many different things that are there. So we need to split this idea and really see that integration and assimilation are the things that are really being asked when this kind of question comes about. And we're all for integration, but we're not for assimilation. Thank you, and I hope you're well.